Welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast. I am your host, Rashida McFerrin, and today we are going to be talking about, it's something related to money, right? It's something that came up for me in a coaching session this week with one of my manifestation coaches, and I posted a blog about it probably about an hour or two ago. And so I just wanted to get on and talk about what was in the blog because it's a good point. So, we're going to be talking about how does $1 million feel for you. Just be patient with me in this episode because I'm pretty much going back to some experiences and talking about some of my background as far as being in a bank and handling tons and tons of money on a regular basis. And so the question to me, now that I've launched a new business, I'm in the thick of everything. I'm building the business, and the goal is to have a seven-figure business within the first 2 years. And so the question was, how does $1 million feel for me? And at first, I just kind of like looked at her and just said, like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? How does it feel? It feels like money. And then I started to explain to her that I have been in the banking and financial industry for the past 18 years. And so when I look at money and deal with money, I don't feel any specific kind of way about it. I have really become neutral in regards to handling money because on a regular day, it was a norm for me to handle millions or multi millions or billions of dollars in deals. And so, whether I was doing risk management on it, financial analysis on it, testing management on it, it became a norm for me. And very early on in my career, like money just became numbers on a screen. And like I know we work for money and get paid to work and then run our businesses and we get paid profit for the services that we offer. But like I couldn't really give her an answer because I've been neutral to money for so long. What I did was I journaled through how does money in general feel to me. I journaled through a while ago my money story and where I came from in regards to what I grew up around and dealing with the unconscious programming from 0 to 7. I dealt with that very early on in my career because I didn't want that stuff coming up as I built my life for myself and my family over the next 20, 30, 40 years, right? And I began to rewrite very early on, probably around 14, my own money story because I started working at 14 because my mother had gotten out of a very violent domestic violent marriage and she went broke. At 14, as a freshman in high school, my mom was an art teacher. She didn't make much money. I was the last child. I didn't want the burden of her having to worry about my needs, my clothes, what I was eating, things that I needed in school. Like, I didn't want that burden on her. So, even though it was her responsibility, so I took the burden on myself and became very self sufficient at a very early age. And from that moment, like who Rashida is as a financier, who Rashida is as far as making money, who Rashida is as far as building businesses, that is when my identity started to really cement and form around what kind of life I wanted to live for myself and my family later on, and then the legacy that I leave for my kids when I'm gone. And I've always been like that. I really didn't have the luxury of being in, I guess, a childlike space for that long because I had to step into my self actualization of what kind of woman that I was going to be and then what kind of woman I wanted to be professionally one day. And I knew very early on that I wanted to be a businesswoman. I wasn't clear on what type of businesswoman I wanted to be at 14, but by the time I graduated from high school, I was running at least three or four different organizations. And I was participating in extracurricular activities, and I was just creating a world for myself where I knew I could be successful. And that has been the blueprint that I've used my whole life. It was the same when I got to college. It was the same when I got to graduate school. It was the same when I got into the real world. Not saying that I haven't experienced challenges, but in regards to making money, I am a natural at it. Money just flows to me, opportunities flow to me. And if there is a situation where it's not flowing to me, there is something within me that needs to be unblocked and unlocked and cleaned out so that I can continue on and elevating my level of, I call it level of genius. I call it having your money genius. So, $1 million feel, how does $1 million feel to me? To me, it feels very normal. I don't talk much about my personal finances because number one, it's not anybody's business. Number two, I don't think it's classy at all to spread all of your business on social media and wear it on your sleeves and put it on your chest about how much money you have. To me, actually, it's the most undignified way to carry yourself. And when you've been around money, when you've worked with money, worked with people who are from money, you notice very quickly that the last thing that they're talking about is money when you're in social circles with them. And so I may talk about how to do something in regards to an investment generally, but I really don't talk about the specifics of net worth because, truth be told, it really is none of your business. I will say, in regards to my earnings, I work in banking, I work in finance, which is related to what? Money. So take a wild guess. I think I've maybe referenced in the last episode when I hit the 6-figure mark in regards to my journey of self development, in regards to being a millennial and working up the financial corporate ladder. It doesn't take a genius to figure out if you work in certain areas and you're good at what you do, you are compensated pretty well when you do good work. In reference to how does $1 million feel to me specifically in my bank account, in my company's bank account, from me offering a service that people are buying and participating in, it feels very natural and normal to me because, again, I've spent the last 18 years of my career funding deals that made people millions, multi-millions, and sometimes billions of dollars. That has been my way of service because every time I approve a deal, someone else is getting money on the other side, and how they use that money is up to them. My role and my job in it is to get the deal approved and get it done. And it's always the hope or the expectation that the person that's on the other side of the deal is taking the money and using it to make more money because we're in banking. So, what does a banker want? I want my money back with interest on time. And if you pay it off early, even better. Come back to me so I can fund more deals for you. Those are the best type of clients that you want to be in business with. And so my first 7 figures in my business is definitely going to be a milestone for me, knowing that I've made the banks so much money over the years and knowing that I've made so many people or helped level up so many people over the years. Like I said, I stopped counting in regards to my deals, which has almost been 10 years. Once I did my first $1 billion deal, because literally there was no way for me to keep up with the amount of assets I was touching on a daily basis. There was just no way. And so the exercise in regards to getting back in touch with, I guess, Rashida as a business owner has been different in the sense I've operated from a corporate environment for so long and being in that structure. And when you run your business, it's a little different. You still have structure that you're operating in, but there's a little more flexibility in regards to how you run your business because it is your business. And a lot of times you change the things that you would have wanted changed in your career, in your business, so that as you're hiring people, project managers that are coming on,
temporary talent that's coming on as you're hiring them. Well, my goal is to give them the best quality experience that they can have so that if I am only retaining their talent for a short amount of time, that they come back when I invite them to come back when I have another project that's coming up. I believe that you don't need a lot of people to build a 7-figure brand. Do I believe you need employees? Absolutely, to a degree, but you have to decide for yourself whether they're actual full-time employees or contractors. There's this guy on Instagram, I don't know his name, but he's focused on building a $10 million brand by himself. And his goal is to automate as much as possible. And I see value in what he's doing. And so run a very lean company, which was what I did when I was at Bank of America. I worked as an individual contributor. And if you know the difference between an individual contributor and a manager, you know that as an individual contributor, you are responsible for the overall process and the end result of the project. It is not your job to get specifics in regards to how things get done. Your job is pretty much to check in with people on every now and then basis to make sure their deliverables are on time so that your deliverables are on time. It's not my job to manage you. And because of that, I really like the IC way of doing things. And because of that, I have implemented that in my business. And so getting back in touch with the concept of handling money on a regular basis, like dealing with the whole financial picture of a company, has been different for me because I am usually the lender and not necessarily the borrower. I'm basically like the CFO of my company, and I literally am 24/7 making financial decisions about this and that, and do we purchase this or hold off on this. And one of the things that was overwhelming for me at first was having the responsibility of managing people, or more so managing contractors. I'll always have support staff, even if it's just temp support staff on when I'm like doing a launch. I do know for sure that I do not want to be a CEO long term. That's probably going to be my first hire because I don't enjoy the role of a CEO. I show up and do what I have to do because it's my company. But after I see this company through to its completion, the next company I build, my face will absolutely not be the brand. I will hire teams and chief officers from the jump to build it from ground up. And so that's just an observation. Back to the topic at hand of how does money feel? My question to you is, how does having certain amounts of money feel for you? I like to reference the term health wealth because I like to equate how healthy you are in regards to how wealthy you are, because you have to take care of yourself in order for you to be healthy and go out and create the wealth that you want to bring into your bank accounts or your investment accounts. What is that number for you? I'm speaking from being an African American woman living in America. There's this concept that 6 figures is the goal. Yeah, it's the goal maybe when you first start 20 years ago when I graduated from college, but 6 figures is not the end goal. Like 6 figures is the floor. I'm almost to the point of being like, yo, 7 figures is the basic bare minimum of what you need to be like comfortable in this country. And so I am a strong supporter of the fact that you need to be your own financial advisor and be your own bank so you know what to do with your money and know how to go and create more of it. And you didn't learn that in school. Like, we didn't learn how to build a business, run a business, make it profitable, and then sell it in school. That is not something you learned unless you were like a business major. And even if you were like a business major in like high school or college, you may have learned a fourth of that, because it seems like to me they spend so much time teaching you stuff that absolutely does not matter instead of teaching you the things that do matter. I didn't really truly learn investing, even though I had been doing it for however many years, until I took a Harvard finance class. And I was sitting up in that course like, why didn't they teach me this in college? The moldable phase of before you become like a real adult. Why didn't they teach us this then? And so I want you to think about what makes you feel good in regards to how much money you have. I guess now, since I left my mother's house, I had never gone into the bank and withdrawn certain amounts of money. And so last year I went and did it just to see how it felt. And then I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, why don't we operate like this in regular life? Nobody teaches you that. And one of the lessons I learned from my aunt, God rest her soul, she passed away at the beginning of this year, but she was kind of like the first businesswoman that I wanted to be like when I was growing up. She was an accountant. When I was 8, they built maybe a 3,000 to 3,500 square foot house in the country on 120 acres of land that she bought from my grandfather. And I remember at 8, like when we were going over there to play with my cousins, I remember thinking to myself, this is the kind of house that I want to live in when I grow up. Because I knew at my house, my mother didn't have that money. The house we lived in was the house that my grandfather literally built because my grandmother was pregnant with my mom and they were getting married, and his parents lived across the street and they were like, you can't stay here no more. Y'all got a whole family. So my granddaddy went and built a house randomly. Funny enough, it's still standing today. We rebuilt it back in 2007. And so, like, she was the pinnacle at the time for me to look up to. And then with her, I had an uncle who was in business, who now lives in Vietnam, who was an investor. He invested in stock markets. After my grandfather passed away, my senior year in high school, he came back home to live with my grandmother for a few months before he took a role in South America. And he would sit in front of his computer all day watching his laptop. And one day, like, I was over at my grandmother's house, but one day he was sitting in front of the computer and I was like, what are you doing on the computer? He was like, I'm watching my money go up and down in the markets. And I was like, huh, okay. So you can see that on your computer? Yeah, I invest in stuff and I watch my money go up and down. I make money sitting in front of this computer, Rashida. Huh. And I think at that point, I was 18, a seed was planted. I said all that to say, what does having money feel like to you? And what is your number? What is your abundance number that you feel comfortable with having in the bank, under your mattress, in an envelope, in a lockbox, wherever you keep and store your money? I would hope that you wouldn't just keep your money under your mattress. We are definitely past those days in regards to modern time. But what is your number? What's your comfortability number that lets you know that you can sleep well at night? And how does that feel for you? And if that number is comfortable to you, I'm going to challenge you to increase your number and go get the bag. And that's what I do every time I hit like a financial milestone. I get comfortable for a little while. And then next thing you know, I have a new goal because I'll meet somebody along the path that's doing something new and adventurous and exciting. And I'm like, yo, how are you doing that? It's the evolution of growth. And so I hope something in this episode was helpful. If you are interested in finding more information about me, I am Rashida McFerrin. You can check me out at rashida.ai, where all of my course offerings, you can find me on socials. I'm pretty much on all of them. I hope some of this helped, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.